Nahum chapter 1 is a very relevant chapter for the church in the generation the Lord returns. I believe that it's one of the clearest statements about God's personality and God's power related to his end time judgments. Now, often we think of God's end times judgments as contradictory to his love. But in Nahum chapter 1, Nahum lays out what God's character's like, how jealous he is for the good of his people, for the glory of the Father, but how earnest he is about confronting everything that hinders love. Of course, that's the essence of his judgments. Then he gives 4 different principles of judgment, one of them being that God is slow to give judgments. Well, he gives 4 of them. I'm not going to go through them. But when you understand those 4, it gives you a framework to interpret what Jesus, Paul, Peter, John say in the New Testament about the judgments of the Lord at the end of the age particularly. I'm not talking about God's discipline on his people that's redemptive to wake them up in love. I'm talking about him confronting darkness and evil on a global level. Nahum highlights 4 key principles in Nahum chapter 1. Then he gives 5 categories of how God's going to manifest his power in ways that are like even the book of Exodus, like in Moses and the 10 plagues and dividing the Red Sea. Most believers are unaware how much is in the prophets about the creation miracles like what Moses saw. Well, Nahum outlines those. He gives quite a category, quite a list. And anyway, then he declares in the midst of all of this, God is good. He is a stronghold. He's a protection, a fortress for anybody that will relate to him on his terms, and that the Lord is going to show his goodness and his kindness to his people because he knows everyone who's saying yes to him. Anyway, Nahum chapter 1, I highly recommend it. It's relevant for what's happening in this generation, though it had a partial fulfillment in ancient history in the Old Testament and Assyria and Nineveh and what happened in those contexts. So Nahum chapter 1, I highly recommend it.